Okay. Om Yada Sangharate Chayam Yada Sangharate Chayam Kurmonganiva Sarvashaha Kurmonganiva Sarvashaha Indriyarnindriyarthebhyas Indriyarnindriyarthebhyas Tasya prajna pratisthita Tasya prajna pratisthita. We'll do it together. Yada sangharate chayam kurmonganiva sarvasha indriyarnindriyarthebhyas Tasya prajna pratisthita. And then we can repeat that last line. Tasya prajna pratisthita. Om. Just take a moment of silence. Yogic silence is the experience of thoughtless reality. Feel thoughtless reality. It is not outside of you, it is inside of you. Feel it. Take your right palm and place it on your heart, and your left palm over that. And sing with me. Om. 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 Shantihi, Shantihi, Shantihi. Om. Bring your palms together. Bow your head. Om Shanti. Okay. So, here we are at the beginning of our week. And what does this verse that I was focusing on talk about? Well, the verse talks about essentially the need for the student to work to engage a connection with the inner. And I think we're all so focused outward, and we get so much praise for outer movement. You know, our friends and our families, they compliment us for our outer accomplishments, and that's great. It's wonderful, and I think it's meaningful. My niece is going to graduate, and I'm looking so forward to celebrating her. And I even texted her the other day. I said, Auntie is so excited to come and celebrate your amazing accomplishment, right? So it's important that we celebrate these outer accomplishments. They don't come easy, as we all know. Whatever accomplishments we are able to and goals we're able to reach on an outer level. But then there becomes a kind of, we're praised for the outer all the time, and we pay attention to the physical. And while it's important to pay attention to the physical, and while it's important to recognize the outer, well, the teachings of yoga, and certainly the Bhagavad Gita, are trying to remind us there is also a necessity to pay attention to the inner. So it's not saying don't pay attention to the outer at all, right? But we live in a modern world with families and jobs and so forth. But it is talking about, and certainly I teach this in Luminous Soul, in the Luminous Soul method, that you are looking for that balance between the outer and the inner. And so the verse is saying, it's Krishna speaking to Arjuna, telling him to go in, to spend some time in. And the way that he describes it is like a turtle or like a tortoise withdraws back into its shell. You must withdraw the senses back into the center. And we don't even think about our senses. We don't. They are the what is. But as yogis in training, it is our job to actually go a little deeper into the what is, and to explore it in a more in-depth way, and to take a look at it, and you become quite enriched by it. So it's not saying don't have a rich outer life that's amazing and that's going to give you praise and joy and happiness, but by the same token, don't miss your window to also have a rich inner life. And this is really what the verse is saying. It's saying you're going to have to pull in. When you pull in, just as a tortoise pulls in, right? When it wants to withdraw to its shell, in the same way, spend some time withdrawing your senses. What are your senses? Seeing, your eyes for seeing, your nose for smelling, tongue for tasting, skin for touching, ears for hearing. Okay, 5 senses. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. These are 5, think about them as like intelligent tentacles. They go out into the universe and pull information back in. But the yogis say, okay, you do that regularly. You go out, and that's great. But what I want you to do is turn that off once in a while and just be in. Turn it off once in a while and be in. People are like, okay, so, writing a furious note. Turn it off, she says, and be in. That's right. Turn it off and be in, because the being in is its own value. It has its own depth to convey to you, right? There's a quiet when you pull back from the senses, and it's not just like, oh, it's a nice quiet day. It's so peaceful here, right? It's not that kind of flip thing. It's not something you can brush off with a quick, yeah, I know. It's actually something that you have to spend time with, and it's much more profound, so that when you don't hate the senses by letting them go, but when you engage them in a healthy way on an outer level, and then you learn how to withdraw your senses, or you withdraw yourself back to the center of your being, and then be there in witness consciousness. Okay, any questions? I should read a translation for this. I said when the yogi in training withdraws her senses completely, and the senses from the sense objects of sense, just like a tortoise or a turtle withdraws from it, back into its shell. That one is considered, that yogini or she is considered one whose wisdom has become firmly established. It is tasya prajna pratishtita. That woman or that man or that practitioner is one who. It says he who, but we can evolve it to include all of us ladies. So many of us are studying deeply the practices of yoga in our modern times. So that one is one whose wisdom stands firm. Your wisdom, you gain something that's so incredible. And think about life without wisdom. Not so good. You gain wisdom by developing the capacity to pull in. Okay, do I have any questions? I'm here with you on this beautiful spring in what month are we in? May. Spring day in May. Any questions? Have a sip of water. So Melanie says, so you let go of outer senses and then the monkey mind sets in. How do you draw away from that? Well, that is the key, isn't it, Mel? Isn't that a kisser, or a kicker or whatever they say? The mind is going to kick in. So it's not just one piece of the puzzle. You got to, remember I talked about this in the Sanskrit Studies method class. You have to be willing to learn a part and not have to know the whole. Well, in the same way, you've got to develop this capacity of pulling in, pulling in and not knowing the next step, but watching the mind. And when the, as you call the monkey mind, which is a famous phrase, the mind moves like a monkey, kind of, jumping around, playful and all, but it tricks us. It's a little trickster in that way. So you have to develop the watchful quality. And believe it or not, the more you live life and the more you have experiences, the more you're going to want to watch the movement of the mind and stop following it as the primary source of support and information. So when the mind starts doing its dance, you return back to watching. It's like I'm doing this, right? And this is the mind, and it's alluring my attention and my prana. And then you're given the suggestion, watch the mind. And so that you're doing this, and then all of a sudden you're just like, watch the mind. And it goes like this. And you go like that, and then it starts to subside. And then you get a little reprieve, and then it starts again, and you have to do the same thing. And I was telling the class recently that after my accident with my jaw, I had a martial arts accident. Yes, I was a martial artist. And I had a car accident, and after my accident with my jaw, I really had a lot of pain in my jaw. And the funny thing is I speak a lot because of what I do for my job. So it was this funny conundrum, as we all find ourselves in funny conundrums as we get into our 40s or 30s or 20s or whatever, 60s. So there I was, this is my work, I'm dedicated to it, and yet my jaw would get really tight, right? So rather than judge myself, I tried that for a couple of years, that didn't work. Rather than get angry with myself or others, I just learned how to do this. Watch. I'm not kidding, I did this for a year. It's no big deal, right? It's one little tiny adjustment, but I just went like this. Every time I noticed that my jaw was getting tight from having worked too much with it or relying on it, we always blow out our highest skill. Every one of us does that, right? So instead of engaging the way I had in the past, I just kept doing this. Right? And I remember after a couple days, I'm like, part of me was like, how long do I have to frickin' do this to get my jaw relaxed? And I started to notice when I did this, watch my whole body, when I did this, these also kind of connected and relaxed down. And my whole body was still awake, but relaxing. And I said to myself, every time this happens, I'm going to do it. And it was like, I think I told you this the other day, Mel, and everybody, I said it to Mel, I don't know if I told everybody, but I'll tell you guys, that it was like a year of doing that until finally it clicked in. And I only do it occasionally now. But I had to learn that lesson of not judging myself in it, of not pushing, and yet of also staying wakeful and at ease in this way. So in the same way it is with the pulling in. You pull in and watch all the meaning that you make and the ga-ga-ga-ga-ga, and pull out. And then the mind catches hold again and goes like this, and then you gently pull out. And you have to not get bored with that process or angry or, I remember one time my sister and I were practicing together and she was just giggling. You have to not get giggly and scared. That's all that meant. It was like, oh, this is funny. You have to get curious. Like, what might you find with such bravery to go deep within yourself? You have to get brave. And that bravery is brave without judgment. Something like that. Does that help you, Mel? Hopefully. Any other questions? Great. High five. Any other questions? Okay, so that's it for today. I'll see you guys back here. I think next Monday I'm also going to be able to be here, but check out Facebook or Instagram and you'll hear more about that. Couple of upcoming events. First of all, if you're not on all these channels, please join me on them. It's so much fun. You're most welcome. It's so much fun to stay in touch with all of you. And so if you're not connected on all of these, oh good, I'm so glad. She says she's very relaxed now. Great. So happy to hear that. If you're not on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or Periscope, of course you're on here with me. But for those of you who watch the replay, just hop on these channels. It's really fun to stay in touch, and I'm constantly looking for ways to improve and share more good stuff with all of you. If you haven't had a chance to go on over and check out the Yoga Anonymous blog post that I did this month, check it out at yoganonymous.com. That's one word. Search Manorama, and then you'll get the list of blogs, and this is the one that I'm referencing from the latest. The upcoming class I have starting is this coming Thursday, Evolving Through Guidance, Studying the Tradition of the Bhagavad Gita. So if you'd like to join me, the class starts this Thursday, 1 to 3 p.m. When you go to the website, you just go to the website, click on classes, and click on teleclasses, and you'll see more about how you can register for that. I'd love to have you join us. It's been a very deep class so far. We do module by module, and every module, yay, me too, Atmika says I can't wait. Every module is contained in itself or can string with previous ones. So it's been really great, and I'm so looking forward to being back with everybody. And we start a new one this Thursday, so if you'd like to join us, it's a perfect time to jump in. This is called The Tradition of the Bhagavad Gita, and you can find out more about it at www.SanskritStudies.org. And then if you happen to be in New York, I'm also doing some live chant sessions over at the Jivamukti Yoga Center, and you can click on the SanskritStudies.org website, and you can click on the schedule tab and find out about that if you happen to be in New York City. Well, that's it for me today. I'm here at my office, and there's a bunch of stuff to take care of, so I'll move on to my next point. But I've been really enriched by spending this time with you and sharing, thank you for the love, sharing something about the meaning of pulling in and pratyahara. Be brave, everybody, and go on a fabulous, accomplished, amazing outer journey, and also spend some time really going deep within. And when the mind kicks up and watch it and is, kind of creating a little ruckus, or as you say, Melanie, becomes a monkey mind, learn the skill that I did with my jaw and just don't move into judgment or frustration, but instead get brave and get patient and get curious. Be blessed, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for this Luminous Soul session of the Bhagavad Gita. I'm Manorama, and I send you all my love. Mwah! You are all luminous souls. I love you all. Be blessed. Have a great rest of your day. Bye. Mwah. Mwah. Mwah.